Okay, good evening. This is the meeting of the Raleigh Conservation Commission for Wednesday, November 12th, 2014. This meeting of the Raleigh Conservation Commission is hereby called to order under authority of MGL, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Town of Raleigh's Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and the Stormwater Management and Erosion Control Bylaws. I'll now call the roll for attendance. Dave DeMonaco.
Here.
Bob Garner.
Here.
Judy Keys. Sam Strife.
Here.
Arthur Page.
Here.
Kurt Turner.
Here.
Doug Watson.
Here.
Sharon, and we have a quorum present, Mr.
Anything you should do in the way of administrative?
Chairman. Yes. If you would be so kind to possibly review and authorize payroll. Nope, that's everybody. This is the one for just you. My hours.
Just to remember that somehow.
Trick. It's the first one.
Yeah.
Plus, if you get sleep, it's
I always love the one. I know. It's one of those things where because I know I don't know, I don't have any confidence that I do know, you need a trick.
So I hide it on the little signature arrow, and this one just says Doug signed it.
No, that could be, that could work. That could be a good one.
Thank you very much. Also distributed letter we received today from the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissions to organization to which the Raleigh Concom is a member. And I just wanted to point out they're notifying us in anticipation of the dues for the next fiscal year, 2016. And just wanted to point out, they give a listing of some of the benefits of membership. And so I just want to encourage all the commissioners to consider that. You should be receiving their email quarterly newsletter as well as advocacy updates, etc., and various offers for workshops and other educational type opportunities that they make available for commissions.
Just to clarify, you're not suggesting that we pay for that ourselves?
We do pay for membership to the organization, yes. For the
We meaning the commission itself?
the commission itself,
No, we
yes.
individually, we don't have to.
No, no, that is part of our budgetary allocation and the expense line.
That's what I thought.
For educational training and for the annual conference that they have, that can be dispensed out of the notice of intent monies under the Wetlands Protection Act. So that doesn't have to come as an out-of-pocket expense of either the commission's expense line or individual commissioners for that educational opportunity.
That doesn't require any action from folks, just
No.
informational.
No, they're exactly very considerate of them to plan ahead and give us a notification.
A few months lead time.
Yes.
For budgetary reasons and so forth. Okay. Anything else we need to do before we start?
Well, I did, since we do have
Yeah, a few
a
minutes.
couple of minutes before starting the first agenda item, I wanted to mention that I received a email from the superintendent of the Raleigh Water Department, Mary Beth Weiser, on Wednesday, November 5th. She included well, actually, maybe I should just read. She said, "Hello, hope all is well. Attached is a quote, to grade the Pingree Farm Road from Route 133 to the first gate. In order for me to maintain that road, I will have to carry $60,000 a year for road maintenance." A quote that she attached to the email, just for context, I guess is, initially was to put down a base, and it was for almost $19,000 from Ms. Shoba paving. Not for paving it, for a stone dust base, I believe. She said, "Can we discuss paving of the road, please? We simply cannot afford to do this for the long haul. If I don't maintain that road, I will not be able to get deliveries. Also, I would like to put a garage at the new plant. I need a place to store motors and gasoline equipment and vehicles. I can't keep any of that inside. It will involve a slab by the old well building number 5. I responded to her, "Thanks for your email with attached estimate from Neshoba Paving dated October 2nd for $18,900 to machine grade and roll the dirt road with the addition of 60 tons of additional material," and then I put in parentheses gravel because it wasn't specified, "from Haverhill Street, Route 133 to the first gated access road to the water department plant at 64 Pingree Farm Road." Just for the commission's knowledge, that's the gate on the conservation area that is under the care and custody of the Concom. Then there's an access gravel road that then goes to the actual gate of the new water filtration plant, which has its own active security fence and gate now. So it appears that this is a proposal to refurbish and upgrade the gravel portion of Pingree Farm Road that serves as access to the conservation area, water treatment plant, and Georgetown Raleigh State Forest. As I believe I communicated to you when we had our first meeting after your designation as water superintendent, the Conservation Commission would welcome any submitted application for proposed activities within regulated wetland resource areas of the town. It would appear that this proposal would be substantially located within the approved DEP groundwater protection area Zone 2 and the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands as roadway crossing on Pingree Farm Road. These regulated areas are subject to the Wetlands Protection Act and the town's Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Either activity of grading Pingree Farm Road or paving the same roadway would more than likely require the submittal of an application for permit issuance, period. Your second item, second paragraph. Your second item, that of construction of a detached garage structure at the water treatment plant at 64 Pingree Farm Road would more than likely be within regulated areas and thus may require permit issuance or possibly an amending of the issued order of conditions for the plant construction. If you could provide more details regarding this activity, such as proposed location, dimensions, our guidance could possibly be more specific. And then I ended, "Thanks for your email and opportunity to assist with the future proposed activities of the Raleigh Water Department." So, just to let you know.
Okay.
I have not received an application or any follow-up.
Right. I remember when I saw those, I thought, well, yes, clearly they would, it seems pretty clear they're gonna need to do an application, so. And then she's new to that job and she just needs to figure out how these things, what sequence they come in, so.
Right.
Yeah.
As well as I would believe a number of different authorizations, possibly both from the Board of Water Commissioners and maybe even possibly from the Board of Selectmen.
Maybe, yeah, right. The only other thing I'd add is, it's just sort of for the record, gratifying to see the water department reach out to us before they decide to do these things. That's exactly how it works best.
I would note that town meeting approved a $60,000 amount of money to pave the Central Street Water Department land facilities, which in my view is unnecessary, and that she might want to reconsider diverting that money to spend it up on the well site, just discuss and use it for that road work instead. Anyway, just tossing that out as a thought.
Any other comments by commissioners on this matter? So, anything else administrative? No, that's-
Not that would just be a succinct 2 minutes.
All right, so let's proceed with the first thing on the agenda, which is the 7:45 item. I see Mr. Seecamp is here, so I think we can go forward. This is a legal notice of the Rowley Conservation Commission in accordance with the Wetland Protection Act, Federal Laws 131, Section 40 as amended, and the Town of Rowley Wetlands Protection Bylaw. A public meeting will be held on Wednesday, November 12th, 7:45 p.m., Room 5, Town Hall Annex, 39 Central Street, to consider a request for determination of applicability application filed by Mark Gray for proposed soil evaluations for design of a subsurface sewage disposal system, possibly within the 100-foot buffer zone of bordering vegetated wetlands at 180 Main Street, map 24, parcel 137 in Rowley. Hello, Mr. Seecamp.
Good evening. And for the record, Michael Seecamp, Seecamp Environmental Consulting, and with me tonight also are Mark Gray, applicant, and Joyce Todd, property owner.
Okay.
And we had a site walk. I delineated the wetlands in October, and we filed the RDA, and then I had a site walk with your agent, Brent Baseline. And he indicated at that time that he agreed with my delineation. I had not seen this memo that was just handed now, so haven't really had a chance to review it.
Okay, would you like to
But
take a minute to look at it?
Yeah, I'd just like to mention that the reason for the delineation was so that they could do soil evaluation to the test pits.
Yeah. So go ahead, take a minute and read it.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
there's at least one or two abutters in the audience. Would you care for me to read the memo out loud so everyone's kind of on the same?
So who's here on this? Just raise your hand for a second.
The butters,
Yeah, you're here on this matter? Okay.
Yeah.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay.
So what this is Mr. Baselak's memo to our commission for our information. Go ahead.
thank you.
And we copy it to the applicant's representative, but we had a failure in the network here today, and so we didn't have email access until just 10 minutes ago. So a lot of people are just seeing this for the first time. Please be advised that I have reviewed the submitted RDA application, Wetlands Protection Act Form 1, copy of a plan entitled Plan to Accompany a Request for Determination of Applicability, Rowley, Massachusetts, 180 Main Street, by GA Consultants, Inc., dated October 25th, 2014, to DEP Field Delineation Plan, section of Assessor's Parcel Map, section of Topographic USGS Map. I visited the site on November 4th to review the area proposed for soil evaluations and the delineation of bordering vegetated wetlands. The bordering vegetated wetlands line was reviewed in the field, and confirmation of the delineation is requested in this application. The delineation is consistent with an application review on the recently subdivided portion of the same parcel located to the north, land off of Church Street, Assessor's Reference Map 24, Parcel 137, Lot 1. Since the field had recently been mowed, soils and indicators of hydrology were relied upon. While the 200-foot riverfront area of Ox Pasture Brook is depicted, it doesn't appear that the mean annual high water was flagged, parentheses delineated, for Ox Pasture Brook. Therefore, I would recommend that the delineation of riverfront not be confirmed. The plan should be revised to state that only the BVW delineation was reviewed. Other jurisdictional wetland resource areas may be present, but are not confirmed. In parentheses, I noted bordering land subject to flooding is probably also on this parcel. It should be noted that a copy of the plan depicts parcels not yet created, and that the proposed designation of the lots would be inconsistent with the assessor's designation since map 24 parcel 137 lot 1 already exists. Next paragraph. The office has not received full-sized actual plans for this application. The commission should consider requiring 2 full-size printed plan sheets, wet stamped and dated with professional signature, with the following revisions. Number 1, the plan lacks a legend with regulated resource areas correctly named. 2, the abutters and abutting parcels are not indicated. 3, the direction of flow of Ox Pasture Brook is missing. 4, the barn, parentheses, should be labeled existing, parentheses, or quotes, excuse me. 5, the labeling of the proposed lot should be revisited. Second page, the applicant is proposing to perform soil evaluations for design of a replacement subsurface sewage disposal system on lot 137-1 and a new subsurface sewage disposal system on the potential parcel labeled lot 137-2. At the time of the field visit, the proposed areas for the new soil evaluations, I made a grammatical mistake here, and was not staked in the field as requested. The copy of the plans depicts this activity just outside an area subject to the commission's jurisdiction, parentheses, 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands. As is a standard recommendation to the applicant, the 100-foot buffer zone delineation line should be marked in the field so that the proposed evaluations are conducted outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. This is especially useful in this setting since the natural features to provide a landmark are missing. Next paragraph. The area proposed for soil evaluations is relatively level maintained lawn or field and with the activity proposed outside of regulated areas. Therefore, the Commission may determine that the activity is not subject to the WPA Wetlands Protection Act or the town's Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Next paragraph. Unless there are additional concerns to be addressed, the Commission may wish to consider closing the hearing and issuing a positive determination number 2A for bordering vegetated wetlands and buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands, confirmed. Number 2B, 200-foot riverfront area not confirmed, and a negative determination, option number 4, contingent upon receipt and review within 14 days of 2 full-size plan sheets, wet stamped and dated with requested revisions. Please advise me if I may be of further assistance.
Right, so, Mr. Seekamp, now that you've read this, any comments on the memo?
No, I think we comply completely, and I agree with Mr. Baseline
So-
with his findings.
So you have no issue with us not confirming the delineation of riverfront? And it doesn't
No.
appear to be relevant
No, it's
to
not
what you're
relevant.
doing.
It's not relevant to what we're trying to do. So.
Yeah, okay. And the full-size plans and so forth is just
Yeah, we can provide
administrative,
those.
and the
Yeah.
minor.
And with the additions noted.
Okay. Anything you'd like to add?
No.
Brent, anything you'd like to add to your memo before we hear from the members of the public?
No. Yeah, I mean, it would be probably easier to inform the interested members of the public that were here if we had a better. We do have a kind of a reduced 11 by 17 photocopy of the plan. So.
Right, yeah. All right, so you folks who are here, who would like to speak first? And before you speak, please identify yourself so we know who you are.
He's representing us.
Yeah.
And we're fine with that. Yeah. I'm Barry Todd. This is my mother, Joyce.
Okay,
Yeah, so we're just here to support one another.
okay.
Yeah.
And I'm Reverend Bob Vigoka, and my wife Ann and I live at 179 Main Street, just
Right.
across Main Street from Joyce's home. And we're in full support of what she would like to do and what the plans are.
Okay.
We have no problem with any of it, and we're glad to see the land will be utilized.
Okay. Anyone else? Mr. Todd?
All is well.
As usual, a man of few words. It's well put.
No, I remember when it divided off the Church Street part,
Yeah.
that my concerns were that there was enough room left for the second lot.
Yeah.
And what I didn't want to see is using the, between the house and Church Street
Right.
as a possibility of a house lot.
Right.
And things like that. It's a, you know, you try to keep things like they are as much as you can.
Right.
Well, there are two homes going in behind all that.
Are they associated, are they connected?
It's a separate lot and they're gonna be condos, condo homes.
So we're told,
So-
we have somewhat limited jurisdiction over that, but so we're told.
Yeah, Jeff Clark.
Yes, by Jeff Clark, right?
Yeah, I was talking with Dave Jaquith, and he said there was a double header going in there.
Right.
And had I seen it? And I said, no.
You could watch the tape of our last meeting and we spent a lot of time talking about it.
Yeah. But we, we don't have the only say on that.
It was an informational presentation.
Right. That will be back before us, because that, as I remember, was just informational.
Planning board, I think.
And I think it has to go to planning board also, so you'll have opportunities for input on that. Make sure you pay attention to what and when it comes up. I don't think any hearings have been set. I know they haven't with us.
But I think they had an informational session.
With planning.
With planning.
Right.
Last Wednesday, a week ago. I think.
Okay.
A week past here.
All right.
I'll check it out.
Okay. Jeff Clark and, what's his brother's name?
They're not brothers,
They're
they're
not.
just business partners.
Business
David
partner.
Clark.
David Clark, right. Always forget that. Okay. Anyone else in the public want to have anything to say, anything you want to add? Okay. Members of the commission, any comments?
Got a question for Mr. Seekamp. Why is there a dig safe insignia on your plan here? Does that mean that you've notified them already and they passed on this, or that you intend to? I've never seen it on a plan before, so I'm just curious.
I'd have to check with the engineer. I can't answer that question. We'll have the answer for you though when we submit the full-size plan.
Okay.
Thank you.
That may simply be a, keep it simple type thing for a plan that depicts proposed excavations. That
Sure.
It's always a good idea.
Yeah.
It's probably
Yeah.
safe.
Well, it should be, but it might be nice if there was a legend indicating that that had been done.
Yeah.
Any other comments from commissioners? Anything else you want to add, Brett?
No, I don't think anything's come up I haven't covered.
So, let's see, I think I would need a motion to close the hearing, issue a positive determination number 2 for BVW and buffer zone, 2 BVW?
To a,
2A, yeah, 2A, and to confirm that. And number 2B, the 200-foot riverfront area is not confirmed by our vote. And then finally, a negative determination option number 4, contingent upon review and receipt within 14 days. Is that realistic, Mr. Seagan?
Yes.
New plans in 14 days? Of 2 full-size plan sheets, wet stamped and dated as per the requested revisions. And I think that can all be done in one motion. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And all against? And the motion carries.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Judy, what time did you?
7:35, I think. Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Very well.
Thank you. Mark Gray. Cedars.
Yeah.
Fire.
No. No.
Yep, okay.
next item on the agenda is the 8 PM item, the continued notice of intent for 56 Newburyport Turnpike, map 7, parcel 12, Mark Savory. And I have a request for a continuance of that meeting from Liz Dupre at Clearwater Environmental. And I'll read the email into the record. It's sent Wednesday, November 5th to the Raleigh Conservation Commission. Brent, please continue our hearing. We will not have our revised plans reviewed before tomorrow night, so our planning board matter is still open. Ms. Dupre, she doesn't give us a date. Do you know?
I would-
Sense
I would continue to the
to the next one?
final last meeting for 2014, December 2nd.
Okay. So do I have a motion to continue that matter to the December 2nd meeting? And a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All against? The motion carries.
It's different. We're gonna, Tom has a grapefruit one.
I like the line.
Oh, yeah.
That's the best.
Yeah, it is. Just do this.
Before we go on to the next item, because I'm able to communicate via email for a substantial portion of the day. I came into the office this morning, checked the post office. The next principal party for the next agenda item has not provided any of the images that were presented to the commissioner as required under the open meeting law. So I just wanted to let you know. I did have the opportunity when I did have email before it collapsed this morning, and did communicate that to Mr. DeRosa, but he was just transmitting him the proposed restoration plan.
Okay. Sure, bring that up. All right, so this is the next matter, last matter actually on the agenda, which is the 15 status reports, permits and enforcement. And this is the continued enforcement order for land off Main Street, Lot A, map 26, parcel 26, Lot 1, Michael A. Sabatini restoration plan. And just to review, when we were with you folks last meeting, you indicated you were going to be withdrawing the restoration plan that had already been filed and submitting a new or revised restoration plan in accordance with the discussions we had that day. So I have a copy of that plan, I think all of the commissioners do, entitled Bradstreet Farm Revised Restoration Plan, received November 12th by the commission. I think, Mike, you do probably go.
Do that.
Block the camera if you do it that way. So
Right.
maybe if you put.
That's why we've got an easel set up over here.
Maybe if you use that one.
That works.
He doesn't necessarily have to be able to
Can be
get it on
repositioned.
camera all the time, but he has to be able to see us.
All right. Move that.
Mr. Dorza, go ahead.
So for the record, Mike DeRosa, DeRosa Environmental, and Mike Sabatini with me as well. And correct, Mr. Chairman, we revised the original mitigation plan, restoration plan, based on our conversations last time. And essentially, Mike has selected nine trees. On page 2, I found a typo. I had left XXX where I wanted to put the number of total trees, so that should be 9.
It's not Roman numeral 20?
It's not already
Or
30.
actually 30.
Well, you could interpret it that way, Brian.
I'm gonna hold you to.
Mike will be busy for a long time. So we've got 9 trees that we talked about that are all encumbered by largely Asiatic bittersweet, multiflora rose, overgrown with buckthorn. We have 3 apple trees here as you come into the site. 1 Mike has already cleared, the other 3 need work. So those are 3 heirloom apples from the old Brad Street farm. And then we lettered these A, B, C, D, E, and F. And I had a question, are there 2 trees together here? Is it like a cluster?
The 2 side by side.
Yeah, so there's 2 there, but we counted them as 1. So there's actually 9 or 10 trees, however you want to count them. What we advocate for, and we do a lot of invasive species work, is whole plant removal strategies as opposed to spraying with chemicals or other things, or just cutting and wiping the stem with burnout or something like that. So what we do is we advocate for whole plant removal. So we don't just cut the plant, but we actually take the roots out as well. So, and that's what Mike's gonna take on in that regard. And I've outlined in detail sort of our whole methodology that we use on our sites related to whole plant removal.
Can I just clarify something?
Absolutely, yep.
Are we talking about the area on the pond as well as under the various trees, or just under the trees that were added to the second revision?
Just under the trees to the revision. So this would be the model that we would go by. So it would be the 9 or 10 trees that are identified on this plan, and then they would be maintained. We would keep a cleared area beneath the drip line of invasives, and Mike will take that on as part of his maintenance and management of these specimen trees. All of them are on town property or right on the property line, and a bunch of them are right in the area, near the area of the initial infraction. So it's sort of consistent with that work as well. So to be clear, it's Mike's proposing, instead of doing the plantings that we initially proposed, that he's going to maintain these 10 trees and rid them of invasives, but also to prune and to take care of them so that they persist into the future.
I'm still confused, I'm afraid.
Okay.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
Yep.
I sort of understood that you were planning no work around the pond area, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, well, your application or your submission here starts off with items identified in the enforcement order. That's putting down straw wattles along the edge of the pond area to retain sediment from entering the pond during the replanting of the restoration area. And you're talking
Well, those were things that were specified in the, oh, I see what you're saying, this first section.
I mean, that
Cut and paste.
struck me as you were including that in your revision.
Well,
Yeah,
I
we
think
talked-
we
we
did
talked
agree to
about
remove
that.
no, I think this works. We did, well, the erosion control was actually to be installed like back in May, correct, Brent? If I'm wrong.
Well, there's still bare exposed soil because all the leaf litter and duff is removed.
Yeah, so we could, I think it's probably still has value to do that. Is that your point?
If one is going to
Yeah.
also make the effort and provide some of the compost to try
Yeah.
and put some organic material back on top of that soil.
Yeah. And then, and the ornamental plantings are still there.
Right.
And then the diving board, I think we did agree to remove that. Did we not? We talked about sawing
We
it
talked
off
about it,
instead
yeah.
of moving the rolled
Yep.
stone.
Right.
So, and those were all part of the initial enforcement order. So the only thing that's really changing is we're not doing any more plantings, we're not doing anything around the pond as far as plant material.
Just these
It's-
discrete items.
Yes,
They still
exactly.
have value if you're willing to do
That's-
them, they still
yeah.
have value.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Well, they stabilize it.
Exactly.
They may not
Yeah.
approve it, but
Right.
it's still in need of stabilization.
Right.
At least that's what my perception.
So I think those do apply.
Okay.
So,
Any other comments, questions for Kurt?
Not right now.
Okay. No. Any other commissioners have any comments on this?
And I know the commission just got this, so, and Brent,
In the office just got it, too.
so you haven't had a chance to read it either, so.
I read it. Commissioners, no? I guess my thought would be, that I'm gratified that the items we were just talking about are still in there, because I do think stabilization is
Yeah.
important, even if suppression of the invasive species there is not something that's realistically possible. It certainly is possible to stabilize it. The diving board we talked about last time is something that just probably needs to be removed. The only other comment that I'd have about this is that I think it probably needs to be subject to the approval of the selectmen, because we don't control all of this property.
Those apple trees.
Good point.
Yeah, and in general, I think having anyone work on town property is an issue a little beyond the scope of our jurisdiction. I mean, I think I would, if asked, I would support it to the selectmen, but they may have other issues that they want to raise around that, such as a release of liability would be.
Oh, I was gonna
would be
say,
my-
they also require,
Right.
for projects on conservation areas,
Right.
we also require the execution of a liability waiver.
Right.
Because we don't carry insurance for
Right, and that would be, I don't think that would be a issue, but it's an issue they're gonna have to address and sign off on. I'm not sure if that's true of the conservation land, but it's certainly true of the parcel at the top where the apple trees are. That's not conservation parcel, that's town
Correct.
property.
it. Yeah, that's, yeah, under the selectmen's jurisdiction.
Right, and the two trees in F, you say one is inside the stone wall for the community garden, the other is outside it? Do you think?
It's actually, it's right on the line.
Actually, I was gonna ask about
I
that.
could see
because
that.
I'm not aware of a stone wall where they're actually showing those two dots.
There is a stone
Stone wall
wall
is-
right there.
The stone wall.
This is the garden here.
Yeah, the garden's up here and the stone wall is there. It appears that these are positioned further outside of the area that's actually been delineated and set up for lots for community gardening.
Mhm.
I haven't actually gone in there, I went in there when the proposed baseball field, because I had to check the delineation because there's BVW right down in here.
Mhm.
But talk about an area that's overgrown with invasives or whatever, that you need a machete just to try and get through there, mostly because of the multiflora rows.
The tree is essentially right in the wall.
Right.
That's what I can tell you. And I can see a stake just,
See, I'm trying to
I
remember.
can see a stake on the ground, a rebar right off to the side.
Okay.
So the trees,
Yeah.
the tree is in the wall, right where the community gardens is, and I did see a rebar off to the side, whether it's part of, who put it in there, I don't know.
Well, we're
So
certainly
it's
not-
it's right there at the corner of the stone wall. and the
We're
rebar.
certainly not questioning that you were able to find a tree
So-
that's being overrun by an invasive there,
Yeah.
so.
It was a big one, and everybody can see it, yeah, like
reason I
the
asked
community garden,
is
people
I'm
can
just-
see it, so it seemed logical to fix it.
If I'm remembering right, the yellow line here represents the extent of Raleigh property, right?
Right.
The extent of the conservation area, that, one of those dots is over on the Parks and Recreational
Right, that's what I
parcel,
was
which
gonna say.
again is under
Yeah.
selectman jurisdiction.
Right.
Yes.
So the comment I made about the apple trees may apply to that one too. And I'm
Okay.
trying to remember from the survey plan that we had, where that lot line fell
Yeah, well,
as related to the edge of the community garden and the
Yeah.
remains of the stone wall, I don't remember.
it's kind of hard to find.
It's kind of hard to
there.
say. Even if we had the plan in front of us, I don't know that we could identify it on the ground.
So this is Parks and Recreation, so this is town as well.
Town as well.
Oh, yeah, it is
Yeah, yeah.
municipal
Oh, okay.
property, but it's then something that, basically the apple trees, and then possibly
Those-
one of those trees indicated by the lower white dot
Right.
next to letter F would need selectman approval,
Right, it's like,
because they probably
could be a
aren't
foot
on
over the
our
line.
It could be,
conservation area.
it could be, but I kind of feel that you should get their approval for the
Okay.
whole of it.
I think so too, because this is town land too.
Recreation area is
Right.
part of the Brad Street purchase, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
So that yellow
One of the
line, that yellow
4
line
lots.
is misleading, that's all within the.
Yeah, so it should come down here.
Right.
What about this?
Well, no, the yellow line indicates, well,
The conservation.
conservation area, but
Well,
not all the municipal
Yeah.
properties, that's.
So
No,
this
because
should come
the one where the apple trees are is not conservation area, right? It's,
Right.
that's.
Housing.
That's
That's the
housing.
affordable
Just have a
housing
different
parcel.
color.
I should put another color here.
Yeah,
You'll add-
exactly.
Yeah, so this is
Housing. parcel.
housing, this is
Recreation.
recreation,
Right.
And
but town of,
It was all
Still-
part of
still
that.
municipal.
Selectmen.
Yeah.
It's all,
So it's who
Select
chooses.
town
it's all town of
Exactly.
Crowley.
Yeah.
but the
Selectmen
selectmen will
have-
wanna look at these as well, right?
They will,
Because,
I think they might.
So they should
Even
look
though
at
it's
the whole
under
thing.
our jurisdiction,
Probably
you know,
the whole thing.
Yeah, I agree.
issues of things like liability are
Yeah.
really more
Yeah.
under their jurisdiction than ours. Okay, any other comments by any commissioners? Any support for or opposition to this idea? There seemed to be some support last time.
I think it's definitely a good thing,
Better than the alternative?
better than the alternative.
I think it's a good approach too.
Yeah.
Brent, any technical comments about how it's proposed to be executed?
I haven't read it, because it just came in today, so I certainly look to the commission's guidance, but I would ask the commission to request, to reserve that, in my review consummated by the end of next week, that if we do come up with anything, unless it's substantial, that we just be allowed to work with Mr. DeRosa and Mr. Sabatini.
Yep.
So
I think the question of the
since we
policy
clarified
decision
the
we can-
first, since we clarified the start of this with those first 4 items, I'm much more in support, since the quote-unquote impacted area is getting some attention,
Yep.
which is appropriate.
Right.
And again, defer to in the commission's judgment, that we would just have to then interface with the Board of Selectmen, and after my technical review, if the commission wished me to, I could also express, our support of this effort to the selectmen.
Okay.
But we should also, the commission should also request that a waiver of liability be executed and signed for the activities that occur on the conservation area, because the
Right.
Board of Selectmen have advised us to do that. When the Boy Scouts do trail work, I do the same thing. They all sign, or an adult, in the case when they're a minor.
So if you cut your leg off instead of the
Bittersweet.
bittersweet, don't sue us. I don't know how you would, but
I don't,
somebody might.
as a matter of practice, I actually don't use chainsaws, I hate them.
Right.
I use,
No, they wouldn't.
I use Sawzalls.
Yeah.
I have a heavy duty Milwaukee, it's like, weighs about 6 pounds, 10 pounds. And I have the tree cutting blades that are 12 inches. And they're just as fast, they're very fast.
Oh,
Now, I
that's-
can't cut a big tree like
Right.
Arthur Brad works on, but certainly I can do a pretty good sized limb and apple trees and
Right.
pretty quick and safe.
That's not electric, is it?
Yes, with cords. I do have a lightweight cordless.
That's a long reach out to that pond area.
You bring a generator
Generator.
down? Yeah. Yeah, well, those are certainly safer than chainsaws, but you can hurt yourself with one. It's possible. Not that you would necessarily. Okay, so the 2 contingencies that I'm hearing that we need to build into a vote to approve this plan are 1, selectmen approval, and 2, technical review by the agent by the end of next week. What today's? end of next week, right?
End of
Not-
next week, yes.
Not after tomorrow.
No, no.
End of
because-
next week, okay. And I think we're in a position we can take a vote on that. If there are issues around the technical review or around the selectmen approval, we can put you back on the agenda, but I don't think
That's
we
fine.
need to continue this.
May I ask one question that I just thought
Yeah.
of since I haven't read this? Are there any applications or utilizations of chemicals, pesticides,
No.
herbicides,
No.
anything else like this in your proposed plan? So it's
Nothing.
all basically
It's all
with
hand
hand tools,
Yep.
no flamethrowers?
Hand tools or
No.
electric tools, yeah, power tools.
Then,
Yeah.
yeah.
No gasoline even.
Well,
I don't
if
know
no
if they
burning.
make, well, for the generators there would be, I guess, but yeah.
Yeah, but I can still
I
pretty much
meant-
reach it on my side.
Can you?
And then is it just person or?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, you can almost reach out.
Yeah. I picked trees that are really close to the border, so I couldn't, like, I didn't pick a tree that's 200 yards into the property. Well, to defeat the purpose.
Right, I don't think anybody would see it.
Right,
Right.
that's what I'm saying, so I try to keep them around the community gardens and around the perimeter where everybody can see them.
Right, anything else anyone wants to add?
I'd just say I was impressed by the resumes you attached to your application. Staffing resume.
Staffing, yeah, we're getting bigger, a little bit bigger, so we've got some good people and we're still having fun, so that's a good thing. And we're in Raleigh now.
I noticed that.
So when would the commission, if all approvals and everything goes forward,
Yep.
what is the deadline the commission wishes to impose for all of these things being implemented?
Well,
You know,
Mr.
set from-
Sabatini, what do you think a realistic time frame is? You've been doing this kind of work for a little while, you have an idea of how much time it takes to do it. Don't say to me 5 years.
It'll take, I don't know how long it'll take to do the part about the water that on the item I went through before. But I need seven man days. Need seven man days to do the 10 trees.
Oh, okay. And what about working in the wintertime? How, to what?
I'm there every day, I don't know if, it's easier, because the leaves are coming off,
Yes.
and they don't grab as tough to the trees as they would in the springtime.
And the
or
ground
the
is
summer.
harder, so you can get to places.
Well, you
Exactly.
do propose seeding in here, and so I'm gonna say that any seeding that needs to be done in order for it to have a chance of germinating really
Would
should be
seed
done
on the first
next,
floor.
next spring.
Next spring,
Yeah,
yeah.
disturb
So
soils.
possibly,
Whatever you disturb, because you're gonna be.
a completion date
Well-
that would be realistic would be May 30th,
We're trying to-
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say,
2015, to give a chance for them to do the seeding at the appropriate time of year when the soils have warmed up enough that we might possibly see.
germinate. I wonder if we should say
Germination.
June 30th, just so that we can actually see some germination. Does that seem
Does that sound
realistic?
appropriate for what you're
Mhm.
proposing?
Yep, that seems reasonable.
And then if weather interferes, you'll have plenty of flexibility about it.
So, easy to get the work done now, though.
No,
You do the seeding
Yeah,
then.
I would do, yeah, exactly like we talked about.
All right, so any other comments, anything else? I think what I would need then is a motion to accept the Bradstreet Farm Revised Restoration Plan dated November 11th, 2014, subject to the contingencies of technical review by the staff to occur by the end of next week, and the second contingency is approval of the plan by the selectmen. And I'm not sure
And
how.
I'm gonna supplement that by saying amending the enforcement order to incorporate this with the issuance of a directive incorporating all the
Right,
activities
To
in
bring the
this.
enforcement order into it.
Yes.
Okay, so that too. How is before we move to a vote on that, how do you contemplate presenting this to the selectmen? I think, Brent, you had said you would contact the selectman's office and sort of present what our question
Well-
or our issue is. So is it gonna be on you to do that, or on?
Well, no, Mr. Sabatini needs to request to go before the selectmen with the portions of this project that are occurring on the parcels. I mean, it's not only inform them about the
All
whole
of them,
thing,
basically,
but
all of
look specifically for their okay on the parts that are not conservation area. Usually the selectmen will, on things on municipal property that's under the custody and care of the Conservation Commission, the selectmen are usually defer, and if the commission authorizes it, they will also support that authorization. But I think, and so I anticipate that Mr. Sabatini and Mr. DeRosa would reach out with a written request to appear before the selectmen to seek their approval, and that they would just notify me so I could communicate to the selectmen our support,
Okay.
overall support.
So you folks understand that's on you to get on
Right.
their agenda. I don't know how much lead time it is, but, either next week or the week after.
Yeah.
And just to clarify the motion I was proposing, it would be not just approval by the selectmen, but compliance with any conditions the selectmen impose, which would presumably be a liability waiver and possibly something else. All right, so that would be the motion. Is there a motion to that effect? And is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
And all against? All right. You missed it, Mike.
You got them.
We just voted for it.
Oh, good.
Say thank you.
Thank you. I wanted, no, I was trying to tell
Alliance for the Open
him, I
Meeting
brought the
Law?
pictures. I
Oh,
wanted.
yes, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Brett brought this up.
You may have them in his hand here.
Okay,
That's what I was saying.
Photos.
I brought the pictures so you.
great, okay. I meant to bring that up first. Okay, thank you. So what these are for the record is, we referred to a number of photos in the last meeting that were on a iPad, I think it was. Therefore, it was not possible to leave us copies of them. We requested that copies of them be added to the record at this meeting, and then they've just been presented.
In the meeting prior to that, we were shown some images that were not left also.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yes, the last two meetings, right. All right, so I think we're all set.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. 8:30.
How's it, Dick?
Thank you.
Unprecedented. Unprecedented.
Precedent.
Really nice.
Well, you got so much time.
What are you gonna do with the rest of the read?
Oh, no, there's some other stuff.
I know.
See?
I knew it.
That's right.
Gotta jinx it.
We'd already pinned
You're
this.
jinxing it.
No, not you.
Our video operator was thinking, it's an early evening. Nope.
Think of it as an opportunity
Right.
for further discussion.
What else do we have? This would be status reports, permits, enforcement, administrative, and what have
So may I know you're probably gonna think I'm a broken record and I can't get off of Hunsley Hills, but may I talk to you about Hunsley Hills just for a moment, because I'd like to make a request and I need your support.
you. Okay.
So, now, I think I told you at the last meeting that Hunsley Hills was completed and entirely marked. Well, I thought it was. Turned out it wasn't. Thank goodness that I'm a hoarder of images taken from all the projects, because I discovered a Boy Scout project that did a planked bridge. And I realized that in all the trails that I marked, I hadn't come across that planked bridge. And so I think I had mentioned this to Doug at one point in time. I was perplexed by the fact that the number 3, they used the numbers out there to indicate trail intersections. But for some reason, on the trail map, the number 3 appears on a looped section to the east that showed no trail connecting to it. Yet when you go up there, there's definitely a very well-described woods road that goes off in a due east direction from there. Well, it turns out that goes around, comes back here, and crosses a planked bridge that the Boy Scouts put in a while ago. This had been so overgrown over here, it actually doesn't quite hit the number 4, but it's within 25 feet of it. So for all intents and purposes, there is a trail that goes from 3 to 4. So since it isn't on the trail maps, I would like the commission's support in my making a request to the Board of Selectmen to see if it's possible to get Merrimack Valley Planning Commission to go out and GPS, or maybe I will do the GPSing with the unit we've got, and edit this map that Merrimack Valley Planning Commission initially prepared. At the same time, that will allow the map to be edited and to incorporate the new trail where I discovered a woods road that basically went from number 7 to number 5 and was substantially cleared to begin with, which I have marked. So everything is now 100% marked out there with the arrows and cleared.
Even 3 to 4? The big
Yes,
loop?
even 3 to 4.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so what you're suggesting is just to get the plan, I mean, the picture into compliance
Right.
with what's actually out
The
there.
town receives an allotment of so much technical assistance time from Merrimack Valley Planning Commission, and the Board of Selectmen are the folks who are responsible for that. So I'm hoping, if you support this, I'm going to ask Merrimack Valley Planning Commission for just kind of a rough estimate, because they do things by hours. They say you get so many hours. And then I would make a request to the selectmen to seek their approval for authorizing, if it doesn't take too many hours, and it shouldn't, because, except for going out and doing the GPSing, that's the only thing that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you.
And I might be able to do that myself if the unit we have is accurate enough for them to use. So, it might even be possible that the bearings I get off of my iPhone might also
It's
work too.
usually pretty accurate, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like it has to be mathematically precise.
No,
It's a loop.
Anything
Right.
within 3 meters. I'm sure
right,
is-
but I mean,
Well, I mean, you could almost, you're really just trying to get people to know there's a loop out there, where exactly it is.
yes, but, you know, well, number one, I'm hoping that it definitely stays within the town's parcel. Because I did find
Well, there's that.
a woods road that the scout put some of those white markings up on that I'm pretty sure goes to one of Mr. Coughlin's parcels.
Down here.
No,
Over here.
No,
Oh, back here.
right over here.
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Coughlin has a square or whatever that comes across, it may even be that one in that corner there, and for whatever, I'm pretty sure, I started following the things and started saw the depression going down to the pond on that, going to the west, so I'm pretty sure I was over here and I could see the power line off in the distance, so I think the scout inadvertently marked Woods Road that the ATVs were using, so he thought it was a used trail, and it's used by the ATVs, but it's not on town property, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so to that extent, yeah, it's important to make sure that it's all on town property.
Right, as well as we do sort of have an obligation, anything we put out for public dissemination, we do sort of have an obligation that it has some sort of basis in reality, so.
Right, right. Okay, well, any comments by anybody else? I think that sounds like a good idea. You've gotten this far with this project, you certainly want to finish it up.
And we did also, the town common ran a press release in the Newburyport Daily News.
Daily News did. yeah.
Ran it, so we did get positive, well, I look at it as positive, I hope everybody else does.
No, I thought it was great.
I had one person tell me they'd gone out there.
Good. It was very humble of you to leave your name out of the press release, but I fixed that. You're gonna do all that work, you at least deserve to have your name mentioned. So, you don't need a vote, right, just to...
No, I don't, no, I just wanted to make sure that,
Yep.
you know, that I had the commission's support.
Well, I think so.
Again, it would just be really nice if we had an accurate trail map. It's a great system of trails up there, it's a beautiful piece of property, and, you know, hopefully we show what we have done on Hensley Hills, working on folks in the past, the Open Space Committee that worked on it extensively. If we, you know, have it to a point where the trail map matches the trails that are out there, and we get it in a PDF so we can distribute it and make it much more publicly available.
Right.
I feel we'll get, you know, more usage, and then we can, you know,
How many
use the
hills?
same kind of model when we go to the Girl Scout property, because there's woods roads out there.
Yeah.
No, sorry, Kurt.
How many hills are there in Hunsley Hills?
There's, well, if you look at the contours, there's one, that's kind of half in. This one's off. The main one where they're proposing to someday put the water tower is right there, which is, I think, this is the main hill that's named Hunsley, I believe, but there's sort of these two over here.
What did you say about the water tower?
There is an easement that was carved out and was not included as part of the conservation area for the state land grant funding purposes that was designated as a possible future site of a water tower to supplement the water distribution system in town, provide adequate pressure as the population grows and the water demands increase. So,
Harks back to the original proposal of the water department.
Pardon?
That harks back to the original proposal by the water department about 35 years ago.
We were talking at one point about putting another tank where the existing one is, up on the other hill in town. Prospect, what's the name?
That was done.
Prospect.
Yeah.
I don't know why,
Just one tank there.
there's one up there or two?
There's one. They took down the old one. Put up a new one,
Seems
took
to
down
me
the
it
old
would
one.
make more sense to.
I don't think they're gonna put two up there.
I think their thought is, what I heard, I don't know where I heard this, was that the population center of the town has shifted very much to the west. And that's where they would need one if they needed one. More people live out here now than live back in the village part.
Okay. Well, the thought that occurred to me as we were talking about this is that we ought to propose that one of those hills be named Baslack Hill, for all the work that he's done up there.
please, no.
Brent's Butte, how's that? Is that good?
Well, you know, you're not Michael Dukakis here now, you just accept that honor, go with it.
That's right. Well,
Anyway, you deserve it, informally,
yeah.
Baslack Hill. The big one.
All right, well, anyway, you have our support for
Okay,
for all
thank
that. What else?
Okay, continuing on the positive reports, the encroachment on Weathersfield Street at 434 and 438. I drove out today to photograph, and I stopped in and spoke to Mrs. Carefaro, and in a week to 2 weeks, the pre-molded shed that right now is leaning up against one of the remaining vertical uprights from the post and rail fence, that and the posts will be removed, and then there's one more post down towards the Mill River side of things that goes down the slope, where that post and those two rails are still on conservation land, but we're like 95% there.
Okay.
So it's just kind of a timing thing. They've made slow progress, and I figured I'd stop by and speak to her today, that the informal approach first. So I had talked to Doug about the possibility of sending a letter, but I figured it's just they've got children and they've got, you know.
He works a long ways from here.
Yeah, he
all
works
that
down in
stuff.
Revere and stuff,
Right.
and so, yeah, so.
Yeah, no, I drive by there twice a day, every day, and there's signs of progress.
Yes,
Not every day, but
yeah,
there are signs.
so.
I still think we should have another sign like the other two. It's on opposite sides of the street further down.
Oh, well, that's,
Right at where that property sort of starts, a little bit there would be helpful
Yep.
for future landowners and things.
Be a good, the next Eagle Scout
Yes.
can do that.
well, yeah, we may want to put up some posts with, I mean, we may develop At some point in time, I might talk to you about requests for possibly buying some boundary markers, because there's definitely some of our conservation areas where it might be advantageous to have a boundary marker, just so that residences abutting the property know
Where to stop mowing.
where their backyard ends and the conservation area begins. But anyway, okay, so there's that status report. Then in the category of hazardous trees, I had an interesting phone call today from 194 Leslie Road. I'll probably have to talk and point here a little bit. So 194 Leslie Road is like the last residential lot on the left-hand side of Leslie Road just before you cross into the town of Ipswich. And there'd been a house there that was demolished, a new, at least two-story, was built with garage under. You can see the driveway there. When you're on Leslie Road looking down the driveway, the mink farm and the bud property is to the left. And we had an isolated vegetated wetland area to which we declared a no-cut, no-disturbance zone. It's there. This, I think it's either, it might be in the, I didn't really key out the tree. But interestingly enough, in February 2013, I received a phone call about a tree that in the no-cut, no-disturbance area that fell, and they wanted to know what to do about it. And upon questioning on the phone, they said, well, it fell down, it's lying on the ground, but the top of it, the canopy branches are sticking into our driveway. And so you can actually see it right here, because they cut off in clear. I said the part of the tree that extends over the line, cut it off and appropriately dispose of it and leave the rest. So they did that in February 2013. So I get a call today, and at first we were kind of having that failure to communicate a little bit because it's a hard to describe situation. The person says to me, well, a tree fell down in the no cut, no disturbance zone. What do I do about it? And I said, what do you mean? I said, he goes, do I saw it? I said, well, you just told me it's in the no cut, no disturbance zone. So no, you don't saw it. Well, there's...
It's in my driveway. It's on my
well,
lawn.
yeah, some of it's he goes, over my lawn. I go, how about if I come down and visit you? Are you home right now? To see this, because this is... So hardwoods, when they sprout from a cut or broken stump, will develop multi-trunks. And so it turns out that closer to the bud's property to the north is a multi-stem hardwood that then goes up and forks. And it fell in such a manner that it came over and the fork caught the one remaining single trunk from the double trunked one that previously had fallen down onto their driveway. So we have this is a real legitimate hazardous tree situation, because this one that's leaning over here, which then leans over into their property, is actually against the other one that had already had one of its trunks fall down. So it's actually being pushed, and it's caught right in a fork up there. So we talked today about, he said, well, my dad does tree pruning and stuff. I said, well, as long as you guys just be as safe and appropriate as possible, I said, it looks to me like if you go off and cut one of those where it forks, you can get some of the weight off it. Then as you make the other cut closer to the actual fork that's up against the standing tree, the other trunk will then drop down on the other side away from you. And then you can just section up whatever sticks on your lawn, but leave the rest of it in the no cut, no disturbance.
It's not a job I would take on.
No, I mean, but,
Would
their
manage-
property, I can't,
No, right.
I said, do you have a tree professional firm that you can call or whatever, said, because,
This is on their property, it's just
On
that
their
no comment
property.
disturbed.
yes,
Okay.
yeah. So whatever you do, just be as safe as possible, but,
I think you're right when you say that's kind of hazardous, because there's tension there, and when you cut it, you don't
Right.
know what's
Well-
gonna happen to it, right?
well,
There's
plus with
that.
all that weight against a leaning
Snow.
tree already, that already had one of its multi-stems
Right.
break and fall off, it's kind of like a zone of weakness, and that other one would definitely take out their fence.
Okay.
Whereas this one is just overhanging the lawn,
Yeah.
so not the driveway, but the other one would reach their fence based on its height. With all that weight on it, so. Okay. That's that. And I guess really isn't too much else other than the Fort Clark School at 14 Forest Ridge Drive. They have completed all their clearing. I inspected the erosion control and the limit of work last Thursday, so they could then have, starting from then and whatever they wanted to do over the weekend and the holiday. They're bringing fill in now today. I stopped in there at 3 o'clock and needed to make one little adjustment to the straw wattle that's being used for erosion control, because the root system of the tree that was stumped on the inside of the limit of work, some of the roots disturbed soil underneath the wattle, but that's being corrected, and they're bringing fill in, and so that project is substantially underway. Normally, this is a time of year when we would stop projects, but given, I've been focusing on the erosion control, and they've got everything under control, so I said, keep going, because they can probably get it all. Because it's mainly just bringing fill down the hill on Forest Ridge. They're not using any public roadways on it. And the erosion control with straw wattle is about, I think it's a 8-inch or 9-inch diameter, so it should be fine. And then I also stopped on Weathersfield Street today. A&G Construction, the common driveway that Sandy Patrickin's former property that we issued stormwater permit for three house lots.
Yep. Almost.
Where the chainsawing was occurring that we didn't know where it was coming from.
Yep.
They are maintaining their erosion control fine, just again, one place in the straw wattle. I'm gonna talk to them tomorrow just to keep an eye on it.
Have you gone back up to where the two houses have started construction on it and looked at that?
Yes, that's where I was today, yes.
Because I was going to walk up there, I've never done it in the last year, since they started building there. I was going to do that with one of my neighbors who was walking his dog, and this was on Sunday, and all of a sudden, or maybe not Sunday, but anyway, it was 5 o'clock at night one night, and two huge semis filled with presumably crushed stone were going up there.
Septic systems.
And I saw another one the next day.
Well, there's a new septic field for when you're back to Weathersfield Street, so looking down the common driveway, basically you're gonna have 1, 2, 3 single-family homes they're building up there for the 3 lots. So the one furthest east is the one they've done the first, and they just put the septic field in for that, because I was walking across it and it was all big bed of crushed stone with then septic sand fringing it. At least that's what it looks like on the surface. It's level up to the surface, so I believe they've got all the piping in the ground and stuff. So that's probably what you saw, is that material being brought in.
How many houses, partial houses are there now? 2?
Yes, there's two frames up.
That's not
They're
including the
doing
lot you just talked about as the one furthest east.
Yes, that is included. The one furthest east is the one that's substantially enclosed now, has, I believe, the windows and stuff, and I think they're working on the interior.
Said I haven't seen that, but I think that my impression is that those two are the middle one and the one furthest west, and the one furthest east hasn't been started
They
on.
have not done the one furthest west yet,
Well, look at-
closest to you.
Well, look at the lot sign out front on the Weathersfield Street.
Okay.
It looks like that furthest east lot has access not only to Weathersfield Street, but 2 layers of access to Route 1.
According to that little map, it was very confusing.
Yeah.
The parcel, I remember when we approved it, the parcel does run all the way to Route 1.
Yeah, it did have frontage, but we examined that
Yeah,
as
we thought about
a
that as a
possibility for an
reasonable-
alternative access,
Yeah, it wasn't,
yeah.
we didn't choose it, but.
No, because it really was going to have more disturbance in the buffer zone, I think, was my vague recollection. But anyway, they're underway and keeping an eye on them. And that's, I think, really all.
Okay, that's it. 8:45, is it? Did you forget to set this clock back or something? No, that was.
No, actually, I did come in and set the clock for the time change, yes. And the thermostat too, so we
Yeah.
so we have heat at the appropriate time.
All right, well, if there's nothing else, anybody else wants to bring up? I guess a motion to adjourn is in order. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Motion carries.